I'm going to give you some principles, right? And if you followed these principles, you'd always be good. The problem with the internet vehicle stuff is, a lot of those guys, it's like, okay, raise your hand if you've been in a vehicle ambush.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the video. So this is actually from 2018. This is a vehicle tactics micro class, really about how to get out of a vehicle when it's disabled and you're going to take fire or are taking fire, right? What are the things you need to think about, best practices to get out of the vehicle? And so this is a video that I've had privately for a while, but I'm going to re-edit it, give it to you guys so you can see it. John has been out on Sean Ryan's show and Joe Rogan and things like that. I think this is great content, and it's a prime time to share it with everyone. If you've seen any of my videos with John or anything else I do, and you like the content, please like or subscribe. Throw a comment down below if you've got any questions about what's going on. And I hope you enjoy the video. It's very informative and dispels a lot of the myths and other nonsense you'll see in other types of classes where vehicles are involved. The question you should ask yourself about your instructor is, have they ever been in a gunfight in or around a vehicle, and how many times has it happened? Thanks for watching. Let's get to the video. Oh, one thing to mention, John talks about Saddam Hussein's sweater that he wears at Christmas. This is that sweater he's wearing.
Okay. Raise your hand if you were in a vehicle ambush in a minivan. Okay. Raise your hand if you were in a vehicle ambush in an Iraqi taxi. Okay. The problem with the internet vehicle stuff is there's all these guys out there claiming all this stuff. But the truth is, it's like they don't want to listen to the guy that's actually been in the ambush. They want to be in their own echo chamber, right, where they tell themselves how great they are. I'm going to read my notes to you, and I always do this so I don't give it to you wrong. Okay, get off the X, right? The X of the ambush. Get off the X. X is a time and place. If I can change the location, right, they may have to give up at some point. It might be too costly for them. If I could change the time, right, they may have to get up. They might not be ready. They might be ready. So I get off the X. If shooting the bad guy doesn't change this situation, right, or shooting at this car doesn't stop this car, you keep driving. Keep driving. Right? Why even get into any of this if I could drive the 4,000-pound weapon? Right? And then look, wreck your car. If it's your life or wrecking this car, right? And I know, look, on a daily basis, there's morons all over the road, right? And you're trying to avoid accidents. In this situation, if someone's shooting at you, this is where you keep driving, right? Even if I wreck my car and 10 other cars. Right? And anybody who you hit trying to not die from being shot, I think they'll understand later. And you got insurance, man. You know what I mean? Like, my life is worth more than this vehicle or the stupid insurance, no matter what it costs. It just is, right? So human life is always more expensive, right? Do not stop, right? Don't let anyone dictate the time and place, right? Like, if you can prevent those things, you'll never be in this situation, right? Driver, if you're the driver only drives. No shooting, no fighting, just drive. Anytime there's anything else in your hands, right? And I know you see these videos on the interwebs where the guy's, shooting a ton of rounds through the windshield. I can tell you this, he's not hitting shit, he's not affecting shit, and he ain't driving well. The most important thing you can do if this car runs is drive it to the best of its ability and or yours. Okay? If the car won't drive, bail out. Once you bail out, this is when you start to fight. Make sense? Okay, stay mobile. Mobility equals survivability. Always, always, always. Stay mobile. I can't stress that enough. Right? If you get pinned down, if you stop moving, you are now an easy target. If you are always on the move, you are hard to follow, harder to shoot, harder to kill, right? Stay mobile. Being mobile might allow you to regain the initiative. Meaning, what I do is I bail out of this car and I set up a counter ambush. I run to somewhere that looks good enough for me to do a counter ambush. And now I'm dictating the time and place. Always better for me. So stay mobile, right? Changing angles, right? If I stay mobile, I'm constantly on the move. The angles are ever changing. I can't say this enough or stress this enough, right? Is angles will dictate success or failure. If I have the angle on you and I can be successful and you don't have an angle on me, you can't be successful, right? So staying mobile changes the angles. Always, staying mobile increases your survival and makes it hard for bad guys to pin you down. If you can't pin me down, you're never dictating the place, right? And then look, get away, right? It's always best to live the fight another day. Okay, moving in and around the vehicle. If you have to bail out, right, you move in and around the vehicle, right? Don't crowd your concealment, right? People call this cover, right? This isn't cover, but don't crowd the cover. What I mean by that is I want you to stay an arm's length away from the vehicle at all times. If a round hits, it could skip, just like walls, it could skip and travel down something, so you stay away so you don't get hit by vehicles. If someone's chewing up this vehicle with a machine gun, it's going to pull glass frag and shrapnel, spall, splinters, right? And if you were hiding next to a vehicle like this, well, the bullet might not kill you, but the glass and the spall might chew you up pretty good. If you were here, you'd have a better chance of survival, right? So don't crowd any of the vehicles, right? Stay away, minimum in an arm's length. Okay, another thing this does is it keeps your weapon at the ready so you could fight. So if I'm shooting a pistol and for whatever reason I duck down, I can keep my arms locked, pistol where it needs to be. As soon as I get here, I can shoot. If I crowd the cover, I have to come up, present, lock my arms, and take that shot. This is wasted time to where I could have just done this. Pow. Right? So I'll be able to shoot quicker if I can keep my gun ready to fight at all times, right? So don't crowd the cover for several reasons. Okay, the seatbelt. I already said this. Grab where you can see it. A lot of times you'll go for the point, but if the car crashes in a vehicle and the seat moves forward or gets moved back or left and right, this point's going to be fixed. If my seat moves to here, that point could end up being behind me from the accident, right? So always look at where you can find it and trace it. A lot of this isn't the fastest technique, but what you're trying to do is minimize the amount of mistakes you are making at this time, right? Because the less mistakes you make, if you fell out of the car, it could cost you your life. If you were hung up on the seatbelt for 5 seconds, that could cost you your life. If we can minimize these, right, it will lend to our mobility, right? Anytime we're mobile, we have a better chance of having better survival. Gift card to the Metro Diner. Henry, where's Henry?
Right here.
Didn't you just eat there the other day?
Yeah, Darren and
No, I'm gonna
Randy
look
and
you
I.
up.
Try that, see if it works.
That's your jam right
All
there.
right, let's see.
You might want to handle the gift card with gloves. What'll generally end up happening in a vehicle-based gunfight is there will be shooting, a car will die, and a crash or stop will happen. Once that happens, right, now we need to learn how to get out of these vehicles. The first thing I'm going to start off with is the seatbelt. Seatbelt will also save your life. So always wear your seatbelt. Always, always, always. Right? And then what ends up happening is, for whatever reason, the car stops, the car crashes. The anchor point is not going to be in the same place. Why? Because the anchor point is going to stay wherever it is in the car, and your seat could move from back, left, or right. So everybody, when they get out of their car, you go to your little seat belt, and it's generally right in the corner of your seat. But if you crash, where does that thing go? what I would tell you is visually, somewhere on your line of sight, find the seatbelt. I like to grab it next to my shoulder where I can see it. And then I go both hands. I trace it down to wherever it goes. And there's been a couple times I'm tracing it down. I'm like, Jesus, where's this thing go, right? Because my seat went forward, car got crunched, like weird shit happened, right? So follow it down to the anchor point, right? The hand that's going to be closest to the door where you are needs to control the seatbelt. Other hand, lets go of the seatbelt, and then you get it out of your way so it doesn't hang up on your body. Sometimes, right, if your seatbelt hangs up, if you're wearing a gun or anything on your waist, that seatbelt could hang up on your body when you go to get out, right? It hangs up on you. So the hand closest to the door gets it. I call this swimming the seatbelt, where you make it sure that you're clear of the seatbelt, right? And then the hand that undid the seatbelt goes for the door. Make sense? And then you're going to open the door. Now, we crashed. Does the door open? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Door don't open, guess what we're going to have to do? We're going to have to get out of this car another way. Right? But at least we brought the seatbelt all the way to the door and we made sure we're clear of the seatbelt itself. Make sense? So, for whatever reason, car stops, right? I look where the seatbelt is so I can find it and grab it. Because sometimes if the seatbelt moves, it sucks up on your chest. You may not be able to see it. So I always look here on my shoulder. I grab it. I trace it down, right? And watch. I unclick the seatbelt and then look. I can swim it and the seatbelt is gone. Make sense? So watch. Find it, trace it down, unbuckle it, swim it, and then watch. Hand goes to the door. I open the door. Look, I'm clear of the seatbelt. Right? This is the best way to do this. You can do this at any time, right? You're driving your car. And I'll tell you, right, in the vehicle classes that I teach, guys always roll their eyes when I show this to them. And the first time we go to do this with live guns, someone's hitting the dirt. Right or wrong. Guys have been in my vehicle classes, right or wrong. Someone's hitting the dirt. They're rolling their eyes at this point in the brief. Someone's going to hit the dirt, right? So I clear the door. I clear the seatbelt, right? So the next thing is come on this side, guys. I want to be out of the car head first. I want to get my head out of the car first. Trace the seatbelt. Right? I trace the seatbelt. I swim it. I go for the door. I get the door open. Look at my head. Head in front. Now my foot. And I'll be able to get away. Always try to get your head out of the door. Make sense? And then you could do this in your own vehicles whenever. And then the problem is if you get your foot out first and your head's back here, now you're doing a squat off of one leg. How many people do one-legged squats here? Big Mike? No. And so head first, right? Head first. Because sometimes if your feet come out first, what I'll see is this. The foot will slip out and now you're stuck here. Or you hit the dirt. Right? Make sure the seatbelt clears. Head first out of the car. If you had a rifle in the car, the best thing to do with the rifle is grab the rifle in the center, right in front of the mag well, right? And then what you would do is you would tuck the rifle along the body. So what I would do is if I was the driver and I was going to grab the rifle, I would get my head out somewhere in here. I would grab the rifle and I would grab the center of the rifle and tuck it behind me. And I would bail out. Look. Barrel the rifle along the side of my body, tight to my body, elbow. So if I grab the center of the gun, can I borrow your gun, Thomas? Okay. First off, slings, right? Before I mess with this rifle, slings. This is why I created this sling. And I'm going to tuck it under the rubber band. And look, you can see Thomas has got this going on, right? And it stores, right? So what ends up happening is your sling won't catch on something, preventing you. You're like, it won't come out. Like, what the heck? I'm like, I've seen this for real. Matter of fact, what I seen for real was the sling hit the stick shift, and then the car was rolling away. Guy wants to go this way, car's going that way. You know what I mean? He was like, I can't get it. Like, if the gun is in the rifle's in the car in any way, right? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna undo everything, open the door, right? I'm swimming the seatbelt. Now the door is open. I grab the center of the gun, right? And I pull the gun to my armpit. Look. And I come out. Make sense? So I pulled the gun. It's negating the length of the gun when I get it to here. Right? Because you can see barely this is where my shoulder goes, right? And I'm tightening it to the body. Once I'm out, first thing I'm going to do is sling around the neck. That way, if I had to do anything,
Both hands.
I can use both hands, right? And now, this isn't how I normally wear the sling. This is how I wear the sling. However, if I could just get it around my neck, I could do other things. If I went to fall, I'm not dropping the rifle as well. So, if my head's first, right? Yes, if the door comes back, that's what it's going to do.
Smack in the head.
It's going to smack you in the head, right? So really, you don't want to force the door open so hard that it's going to go and come back, right? And watch, when I push the door, I just pushed it a little bit, right? This is where you need to know. Now, I would say if you, for whatever reason, right, pushed it so hard where it starts coming back at you, push it out. The problem with using your foot is watch, if I did this, how am I getting out? If I did this, how am I getting out? Right? A lot of times it's best to use your shoulder to protect against this. So I would try to not use a foot. A lot of guys do that. They use the foot to prop the door open, but they're not really getting out. The two kind of don't mix well. Make sense? So what I would tell you is, for whatever reason, I hit the door, I go to get out, it's coming back at me. Let it hit my shoulder and not worry about it. Make sense? The problem with the foot is the foot doesn't lend towards you getting out quick. Great question. Anyone else got any questions?
Would you keep your, in this case, right hand as you open the door? Would you keep it out there till?
This hand?
Yeah, as you open the door.
If I didn't have a rifle, I could get away with that.
Okay.
If I was getting a rifle,
Yeah.
right?
It's
I
busy.
open the door, right? I would have to use the non-firing hand because I'm getting the rifle in the right place to negate the length of the rifle, and hanging on a steering wheel or something is more important.
But without a rifle, you could use that.
Without a rifle, you could use it. No issues.
Where do you go after this? You run to the back of the car or out of
Well, that's the next part of the class. That's exactly why we're here. Realistically, I know all you guys are rolling around in your Porsches and Cadillacs, so you don't want to put. Yeah, seriously, right? I hear you, Kev. I hear you. I feel you. Yeah, you can't be big pimping with a cutter, you know what I mean, on your door. A lot of my buddies, what they'll do is they'll put the cutter on the release button, right? So you ever see like the one finger, you hook it with one finger and it's a little cutter knife. You put some Velcro on it and Velcro it to the release. So at least you could go to the release, trace it down, and maybe get that one finger cutter. Although I like the full length hand cutters like you'd use for a parachute. Some guys like the one finger cutters. They Velcro it so it's always there. It's not ruining your big pimping when you're rolling big. Right? Yeah. You gotta have the rolling. So it's kind of less obtrusive in your vehicle, right? So you know what I mean? But I would tell you is try to have a cutter somewhere in your vehicle, because this, look, it doesn't have to be a vehicle-based gunfight. You could get in an accident and think you need to get away from the car and need a cutter, right? And then the seatbelt from the accident could lock in there where you can't get it out. You know what I mean? So a cutter could be handy realistically for a lot of reasons. I always like the cutter. I always made my guys put them here or here where they could see them. And that's where I always put them in my taxis, in my whatever I was driving in Iraq. I had about, I don't know, 30 vehicles I drive regularly. I'd always mount them up here where I could see them. Yeah, so look, Jason's got one right here. This is a 1-finger cutter, right? And it's just a little hook knife, right? And then what you could do is, maybe take some Velcro, put some Velcro on the sheath, and just put it on the release, right? Because when you're pimping, you can't be pimping with this stuff right here. Thanks,
So make it like
Oh, shit. Awesome, huh?
Yeah. Here. Did everybody see that?
Yeah.
No.
So look, I'll cut
It
this
just
one. Watch.
slice like butter.
Watch. You guys ready?
Yeah.
I need one of those.
SOB man. Still manual.
Oh, you're taking out
Yeah. And
$200.
there's a lot of them.
Can I have that again?
What makes a cutter good, right, is it's got to be sharp in the back. Sometimes these cutters are 2 razor blades, one this way, right? So it just depends on what you have, right? But the truth is you shouldn't be, cutting open your Dorito packages on a daily basis, dulling that thing down before you need it. Like, just leave it, let it stay sharp. Okay. So let's see, hook knives, head out of the vehicle, already talked about it. Okay, so when I go out of the vehicle, right? So I cut my seatbelt, I do whatever, I get out of the vehicle, right? What I really want is, there isn't really any one place that this vehicle is gonna stop all the bullets, right? Some guys are like, oh no, hide behind the pillar. Oh, it may stop bullets, but like the pillar's 2 inches wide. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to hide behind the pillar. I'm shooting through the glass, dumbass, right? So you can hide behind the pillar. I will shoot you. End of discussion, right? But what ends up happening is there's no place that's really going to stop the bullets effectively. So what you try to do is keep as much of the car between you and the person shooting as possible, right? The only place that will really stop stuff is the motor. Make sense? But that's not always feasible. So if the motor's not feasible to hide behind, right, and you can see like to hide behind the motor, I'd have to get really low. I could keep this entire skin of the car in between me and you, right? That's a lot of metal it's got to go through to hit me. Does that make sense? So I'm trying to keep as much as the vehicle between me and the bad guy as possible. Make sense? So don't look at it as I'm hiding behind one part of the car. Think of it as I'm trying to use the whole car to stop as many bullets as possible, right? And I should never crowd the car, which puts me back here, which even if the bullet went through the seats, through the trunk, how much energy might it have here, right? It probably slowed down a ton. Makes sense? And I got to stay far enough so I'm not eating that spall that comes off the car. Even try to think through where the bullet's going to go, right? Generally, will it deflect? Not that much, but it might. And then guess what? Shoot 2. You're shooting through windows, shoot 2 or more. Why? Because the other ones ain't going to deflect at all. Aim it straight away. Make sense? So I know there's a lot of stuff out there. Guys, aim high. I've heard all kinds of shit, and I'm always like, yeah, like, don't even think about it. And I got to be honest with you, like, even shooting from helicopters, right? Like, I used to do a lot of shooting from helicopters, right? And even shooting from helicopters with the rotor wash and like, bro, the yaw and the like, seriously, I put my red dot center of the chest and I never had my bullet deviate enough to where it was like, was it me? You know what I mean? Or was that the rotor wash and yaw? Just shoot it straight away always, right? Try to take those best aim shots. Don't even try to think through any of that. It'll only slow you down. and then you'll overthink it, and then like you end up chasing your tail. Really, I would tell you shoot straight through the window. It'll go right through. I promise you. Make sense? And then think about this. Okay, so the car crashes. I get out. Now I'm in a gunfight. Okay, do you think this is the time, right, to where even if it deviated a little bit, do you think this is the time to where this is unacceptable? Is this the unacceptable time? No, it's not, right? So in the worst case scenario, I would tell you, shoot it straight away, right? Shoot. The first round might deviate some. The next one won't deviate at all, I promise you. Okay, next thing is shooting through windows. So say I'm back here, right, and I go to shoot through the windows. What happens is as you shoot, the windows will spider web. So I always say, try not to shoot through the car. Shoot next to, shoot over, right? But what will happen is you spider web this and it doesn't fall. Now you have limited visibility, right? Now, if the guy was close and he didn't see you and you know this round is going to end the situation, I say send it. But if you're going to shoot a few rounds and it didn't end immediately, right? This spider webs until it falls away, it makes it harder to see. And the windshield ain't falling out, right? And if any of this newer cars have the safety glass, where it ain't going to fall out. So if the doesn't fall out, it makes it hard to see. One round spider webs this whole thing, right? You're not going to be able to see through it. So I tell guys, man, why even fight it, right? Why even fight it? If it's going to save your life, do it. If not, man, shoot around or over. If smart, shoot through the windows or the car doors or whatever to end the fight, but just know it may not help with your visibility. Make sense? Like, you know, Big Mike's there and I'm hiding and I can see his center mass of his body. Could I shoot that one round through the vehicle? Yeah, absolutely. Right? And it might end the fight. But if it doesn't, I need to do something else, which is over or around. Make sense? Just be smart. Okay. When you go to bail out, you don't want to bail out with your gun in your hand. So if you're the driver, right? Just drive. The car crashes, bail out, and then go for your gun. Make sense? Because what will end up happening is if you end up shooting from here for whatever reason and you go to get out, you got a gun in your hand, you got to undo the seatbelt, open the door, even figure out if it opens, and then how are you going to do that with one handful? Make sense? So what I would tell you is the car crashes, it will not go anymore. This is when you bail. Bail first. Use speed to gain distance away. You've heard me say that before. Gain your distance and then get ready to fight. Makes sense? It's always, always, always better to gain that distance by speed, because if you grabbed a gun, right, you might be fucking with the door. Who knows? Not the time for a gun if you can help it. Now, there are some officers that I deal with that keep a gun on the dashboard. So when they're writing a ticket, if the guy decides he wants to shoot, they grab the gun off the dashboard, they shoot through the window, they ditch it onto the dashboard, they get out, they go to another gun. They go to their gun on their body, right? I've seen a lot of that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's smart. But the truth is, if you can help it, keep the gun on the body, go somewhere else. Okay, if you had to reload or you had to fix something, right, what you would do is use as much of the vehicle as possible. I get low, maybe I take a knee. This is where I would do my reload, and then I'd get back up ready to fight, however that is. Make sense? So get low, if you had to reload, or you had to fix something, or you had a jam or something, duck down for that second, fix your stuff, get the gun back in a position ready to fight before you move in and around. Because look, as I bail out the passenger side, my hands switch roles, right? I'm undoing the seatbelt with different hands. I'm opening the door with a different hand, right? Right? I swim it, I go for my door, and you'll notice I use the opposite hand. If you practice this from the driver's side, you got to practice this from the passenger side. And what you'll see is, as a righty or lefty, this will be easier for you one way or the other. And it just boils down to right-handed, left-handed world. The next thing is the driver drives. If someone was going to shoot, I would recommend it be the passenger. Why? Because the driver can drive and the passenger, his hands are free. Right? So the driver could drive to the best of his ability. The passenger should be the one shooting if you have to shoot. However, what I would tell you is drive as fast and as far away as possible so the gunfight either A, won't happen, or B, happen somewhere else when you guys are ready for it. Make sense? So just remember, as you come to the passenger side of the vehicle, right, it's opposite hands do opposite stuff. Any questions about that, right? Okay, so I'm going to talk about how to store rifles. I've done this a million different ways. And then look, with any of this, I would tell you guys, there's a million different ways to do it right. And there's some very definitive ways of you probably shouldn't do that, right? So there's more definitive, less ways not to do it, and there's more ways to do it. Does that make sense? Having said that, if you're going to store a rifle in the vehicle, so if you're going to store a rifle in a vehicle, okay, first off, right, I'm going to S-fold the sling so it doesn't catch on anything, right? Same as I did before. Okay, my rifles is S-folded, and then look, I go all the way to the floorboard, and I jam it in there. That way, if the muzzle is jammed against the floorboard, if you get in an accident, it's less likely to move. The problem with getting a pistol out or something like that is if you used it while you were driving and then had to set it down to go back to driving and then you get in an accident, where did it go? Yeah, probably not where you left it, right? So, and this is probably not the time to have to be look for it, right? So normally what I would do is driver or passenger. That's where I put my rifle. So come look at it, guys. And what I did is I jammed the muzzle against the floorboard, and I tried to put the pistol grip and the butt stock on the seatbelt, or excuse me, on the bottom of the seat, wedge it in there. This is generally the best place. The problem with putting it against the door is what happens if you have to bail? What if the vehicle started burning or something and you had to bail? Like, but just know this thing, it could get in the way of the gas pedal a little bit at the worst time of your life. Right? And I just did the same thing. Tried to wedge it between the seat and the gas pedal. And then this is where I would be driving. So if we got in an accident or something, it's less likely to move and or hurt anybody. And then as I come out, right, I come out, I grab it, I get along my body, and you can see. Right, but as a driver, I would keep my gun on the passenger side. Okay, anyone got any questions so far? No?
How effective are wheels? I think you mentioned the engine, but like wheels for cover. I guess it's, yeah,
Axle's not bad, but it's also a small area and it puts you low on the ground. And anytime you're trying to hug the ground that much, you are not mobile. It might work for a second or two, but just know anytime, look, if I seen a guy duck that low behind a vehicle, I'd run up on him. I know he can't do shit to me. You know what I mean? And then look, I know you've seen on the internet, a lot of guys love to shoot under a car. You think with this low car, how far are you going to be able to shoot effectively under the car? 5 yards? I would say no. So the truth is okay, so what are you going to do, shoot me in the feet? There's only been one time in the history of the United States that a guy needed to get shot in the feet, and it was the LA bank robber. So this happens once, and then all of a sudden, this needs to be to 90% everything we do. You know what I mean? If you were a man, I would have put 10 rounds to the face, knocking him over. And then I just gone and stood on him. Can't get up. So the fact of the matter is you could get low and you could try to use a rim. If it's going to save your life, I would say do it. If once it's done what it's supposed to do, move. Mobility is way better than hunkering down and hiding.
Mobility and survivability. Don't fight around the same car. Would it be better to move car to car to car?
Yeah.
Okay, than trying to fight around one car?
Yeah, more mobile, more better. Right? The more you can stay mobile, the better off you're going to be. Right? And then again, it goes back to a couple things that I always say: gain distance. Right? The next thing is, like, think about this. If you're in the United States and for some reason someone road rages you, starts shooting at you, you're driving and they don't stop shooting at you as you're driving till you crash. You crash, they're still shooting at you. You bail. I would start moving car to car. I'd probably, me personally, I'd try to go about 50 or 100 yards away from this car and this crash, and I'd set up a counter ambush. And I'd wait for you. And then when I burned you down, I would tell the cops, man, I ran 100 yards away. Like, that guy really was coming at me. There's no doubt about it. Make sense? So anytime you could gain that distance, you're bringing somebody kind of in deep water, right? And then little fish don't do well in deep water. Getting out.
Is there any time you would shoot from inside the vehicle, or you just get out?
Yeah, think about this. You crash. Doors pinned. You can't get out. Dude's walking up on you. Yeah. Yeah. Where I'm trying to get out, right? I'm trying to get out first. And then, let's say I was crawling over here and then the guy comes. I'm like, well, fuck. Right? So that's why I say try to keep the gun on your body. Try not to draw it. Try not to lose it before that time, right? Because as you're trying to get out, car crashes, can't get out this door. You're cutting the seatbelt. This is all costing you time. Someone else gets out quicker than you. You might have to fight from this seat or that seat or in between these seats. So yes, there is times that you're going to maybe have to fight from the car, but that should only be to save your life and end the fight. Right? Now, could you end up fighting and then having to bail also and then continuing the fight? Sure, I could see that happening too. Guess what? Now we just added so many factors in. I'm going to have to put the gun down to get another door open. What if that door doesn't open? I might have to go out this door, right? Climb over the seat with the gun, with the... You know what I mean? So as that stuff starts happening, it tends to get a lot more complex. The truth about getting into these complex situations and that happening should be keep driving. We're trying to make sure a lot of things go right before that point so that never happens. Makes sense? Because if I crash my car, like, if I'm going to crash, you're dying because I'm crashing into you. You know what I mean? So there should be a lot of stuff going right before this point where that never happens. A lot of times, because of the internet, everything's so self-gratification. Guys are always talking about worst case scenarios. But if worst case scenario, right, was so prevalent in the real world, why am I here? Right? I went out alone in Afghanistan. How many guys can say that? You know what I mean? You could send out a SEAL team. Those guys will all die except for one. I'll go out alone and I'll be fine, right? Why? Because before it even got to the worst case scenario, let's back this whole thing up. If I can make a better decision here, that won't happen. What's the better decision? And the truth is it's not about making better decisions. It's not about the best decision. It's about making a decision right now could be wrong, could be right, and adjusting on the fly.
Guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, this was from 2018 members dining event. So this is an event that members get invited to join. It's kind of a social event mixed in with training and antics and all kinds of fun stuff. It's a great time. Hopefully you found the video content helpful. This comes from John, top level dude from a top level unit. To me, this is useful as a prepared civilian, law enforcement. The key thing to remember are the principles that he mentioned and using the principles to guide your decisions. With that being said, thanks for watching the video, especially if you make it to the end. I appreciate your support, and I will see you in the next video. Hopefully it's some range time. I haven't been able to make it out with the holidays and being sick. Anyway, thanks, and I'll see you then.